to the Twin Diaries. And today we're just going to be talking about study tips.
Top 5 study tips.
Yes, because y'all been like saying it over and over and over again, and I don't want to let you guys down, so I want to do it. Get it done. Okay, so the number 1 tip, pre-read your book and highlight important notes.
Yes.
Your teacher talks about it, highlight it. If it sounds important, highlight it. If you don't know it, highlight it.
Okay. But that does not mean
Highlight
go
your
whole
entire book.
Highlight things that are actually important.
Like if you can see your teacher asking you a question about that, you probably should highlight it. If it's safety, which is like the number 1 things in nursing, highlight it if you don't know it.
Right.
If you know something and it's something that was already talked about in another chapter that you already know, you don't have to bother highlighting it if you know it.
Right, and the reason why it is important to pre-read to begin with is that when you read before going to class, when you actually sit down and you're in class, you're not actually trying to read the book, figure out what she's talking about. You're not going to be confused because you've already covered the material. The first time you read something, statistics say maybe you retain about 70%. If that. That's like you really have to be actually paying attention when you were reading the first time. But regardless, when you read over it the first time, obviously you're not going to grasp everything. When you're in class and you're hearing it for a second time, which is using a different sense, you're retaining even more. Then when you go back and you're studying and you're reading over your notes, whatever you highlighted, that's a third time. All the times that you constantly keep looking over it, you're retaining it more and more and more. So you're only helping yourself. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect student because I don't pre-read before every class.
Yeah.
But I do know that there is a huge difference between when I do
read the book
and when I don't.
And that's just for testing as well. You can tell the students that really didn't read the chapters and was based just like, oh, well, so-and-so has notes. I'm just going to read their notes. I'm not going to read the book. You don't understand, like, it, like, the understanding of what you're reading is better when you read the book. Just read it once. Just once.
Or just skim, actually, because you could be doing yourself a disservice if you're one of those people who is literally trying to read to one period to the next period, like you're literally trying to memorize every detail of that book. When you get into other courses, depending on which one you're in, like I'm going to throw something out like med-surg. When you're in med-surg, you may have a test over one particular disease in that chapter. You might not have everything, everything in that chapter might not be on your test. Some of the hours, sometimes they do it by diseases or conditions or whatever. So you have to go to each different chapter and go over that just disease. Do that. Do not try to read a whole chapter and then you get caught up and trying to think about all these details and you're missing the whole concept, because in reality, that's what it's about. You need to actually understand the concept so you can apply it. So that's tip number 1.
Number 2 is to make your own study reviews, which goes hand in hand with the reading the book. If your teacher, like my teacher these past semesters, are based by the book, they're like, if you want to argue a question on a test, if you can show me where it says whatever it is in the book, you can get that point. That's how by the book they were. Where if you go through and you're pre-reading, like we already said, and highlighting important notes, when you go to make your reviews, you're just typing out what you already highlighted, and then when your teacher gives you the blueprint for the test, then all you have to do is just cut down your review and only put in the things that she said is going to be on the test.
Right.
So that's how I did it.
And that's if she, like I said, she has great teachers. Her school is very organized like that. 1, we don't get to review our tests. 2, when we get a blueprint, it is the most generalized review you will ever see in your life. You cannot go by our blueprints. If you try to go by just the blueprint, you might mess up and fail. They're just like, everything's fair game. You got to study everything. So that's why it's important for me to actually make notes over every chapter, because I got to study literally all of my notes versus me having to study every single page in the book in every single chapter. Get what's important, study that, have that in your study guide, and that's what you're going to study. Makes it simpler or easier, in my opinion.
It does.
I don't have time to be flipping through the book and literally studying.
I don't have time for that either.
It's too much words, and a lot of the times, like in my psych book, it constantly repeats itself. So a lot of those pages could have been taken out because you already said the same thing like over and over again.
Agreed. Yeah. So like she said. 3, start studying early. So as soon as you, that's what we said, pre-read before you even go to class. If you can't do that, just after class, when you get home, look over what you already went through in class, or just go ahead and start making your review. I like to start making my review as soon as possible. So I'm going to start reading as soon as possible. If there's something you don't understand, go ahead and start going over it now. So start early. That's number 3. It's just start early, whether it's with studying, whether it's with making your reviews, whether it's with getting an understanding over a topic. So if you know she said something in class and you were like, whatever she just said did not make sense, go ahead and start asking someone else and ask them if they understand. Go and
write that topic and concept down, just to go back and review that.
Yeah, go read that in the book. Go look it up online. If it's something like med search and you're trying to understand a body system or something like that, go ahead and look it up. Like, do your own research to help you grasp it, because sometimes the way somebody says something absolutely makes no sense to you, but somebody else says it and you're like, really? That's all it is? That makes sense. So, 4. Never use one source to study.
No.
Now, the number 1 thing we could tell you guys to get, just like when I told you about the HESI, the number 1 book, the number 1 book, Inclex Saunders book, whether you're in the PN program or whether you're in the RN program, this Saunders book is life.
Literally life.
Like, practice questions for days. And if you buy the book, buy a new one, because when you get the new one, inside the book, it comes with, she didn't even know this, and she had the book for like a year or 2. So inside the book, on the first page, there is a code where you can register it to Elsevier online. It's Elsevier, right?
I think so.
It's the same place I get my HESI case studies for school.
Then it probably is Elsevier.
I think it's Elsevier. Wherever there's a link and everything, you go to that online and you take the test. You register it, and they have 1,000,001 questions. You can like literally pick what content. They even have math dosage problems on there. Like, you can literally just study, do practice questions from that.
Even to
that could be rationale.
Yeah. Because it has mental health, it has peds, it has OB, it has med-surg, and then you can go to each one and go to a specific body system, all the conditions.
Even fundamentals, guys. Like, even fundamentals is on there.
Yeah.
So I can't stress getting that book enough. Go on YouTube and watch other videos. You even watching this video, like, try to figure out different ways that if you know whatever study method you were doing also wasn't working for you, just look up videos. Look up, just try to find it. When I first started,
Khan Academy. And that's, you'll still get into that too. When you're doing patho and when you're doing med-surg, and your mind, reading the book, it might be doing too much, so your mind can't wrap itself around that concept or body system or whatever. You watching that video, them drawing it out, I'm a visual person, them explaining it in simpler terms, how this might lead to this, like, it'll help you grasp that material.
Yeah. I think people don't understand when you can put something in your own words, it helps you understand it better. Yes. Stop trying to read the textbook and remember what the textbook said in their words. Put it in your words, because then when you see it in an application problem, it makes more sense to you because it's already in your own words.
Which goes back to study groups, because when you can teach it, you know it.
Exactly.
And when I'm in study groups,
that's
I
number
find
5.
myself having to teach so many.
Number 5.
Okay.
Have a study group.
Yeah.
Shout out to my study group.
Shout out to my study group.
Nina.
We ain't doing
Daisy.
that. No, we're not.
That's
too many. They had a whole
football
team
in Sierra, Marissa.
Stop.
Like,
we're not.
Like, having a study group is everything, because it also kind of if you're all stressed together. At least it's a camaraderie. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Camaraderie. Like, you're stressed together, so it's less stressful because you're all stressed. But then, like, you guys can quiz each other and ask each other questions.
Queen of quizzing.
Same.
Queen of quizzing. And I'll pull something and they'll be like, where you get that from? And it's like a little bitty corner box in the book. And they're like, only you would find that. And I'm like, but I pay attention to details, because that's the ones that they get you on. And I guarantee you, every single time it pops up on the test, and they're like,
I didn't see that.
I wouldn't even have remembered if you didn't ask me that when we were studying, or that one study. I'm like, exactly. You gotta pay attention to details.
My teacher actually did use those little boxes.
They do.
Those charts. They'll
use
it.
Those little charts and little notes that they have in the book, because they will literally use it. They will find the smallest little thing to put on the test, and then be like, it's in your book. And they aren't lying, it is, but it's like
it's that little one box on page 263 in the corner.
Yeah.
So I actually write those down in my notes and I italicize them.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you can do. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. We'll also show you guys little clips of our notes. I'll make sure she shows you hers, because you guys see mine all the time on Instagram. And I'll still include them. But I don't think she shows hers like in depth, like a close view of what her notes look like. So I'll make sure she uploads that as well. Because
By
I
the
think it
end,
helps.
sometimes they get sloppy. Well,
That's
because I
okay.
just have like a lot of writing on there, but that's just how I am. Like
I do the same thing. Like y'all have seen it where I have like my notes in it. It's not too sloppy because it needs to be where I can read it, but I'll have a bunch of crap in the margins where there's no space left on the page.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's the best. I mean, honestly, that's the best thing to do is because then at one point, all the stuff that you've typed up, and then it's the stuff that the notes on the side is what's going to help you on the test.
That I probably wrote after doing
a
practice
problem
questions.
wrong.
Yeah,
I
after
do the
doing
same
practice
thing.
questions and the rationale pops up and you're like, oh, and then you go
write it down.
that
I do the exact same thing. I can't stress that enough. When you do the practice questions, you get one wrong.
Read and write the
rationale down. Because there's obviously something in that rationale that'll help you be able to answer that question better the next time. So that means that even if you learn that information in the rationale, it might have something that you missed, which is usually the case for me. But thank you so much for watching. I hope it wasn't too long of a video. But I wanted to tell you as much as I possibly could tell you to be more helpful to you.
Yes, details. But we love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching and waiting for us to upload.
Yes, I promise you we're going to try to do better.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Bye, guys. Subscribe, thrive. I'm Sana.